Hello Moto GP enthusiasts. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Pecco Bagnaia blames unusual rear tire degradation for his late race drop-offs, arguing the GP26 relies too heavily on rear grip to turn. His diagnosis, echoed by teammates, points to a package that masks front-end limits by overloading the rear, creating a vulnerability that rivals are exploiting in race distance. Marc Márquez says Aprilia's early season superiority was predictable, pointing to late 2025 form and pre-season testing as clear indicators. His assessment frames the current order as the logical outcome of development momentum rather than a sudden upset, while underlining that the championship remains open as teams continue to evolve. Bulega will join Ducati's development program for the 2027 850 cubic centimeters Desmosedici, combining his World SBK momentum with hands-on testing duties. The move leverages his Pirelli experience and recent work on the 850 cubic centimeters project, positioning him as a valuable bridge between Superbike pace and Moto GP validation. Pedro Acosta arrives at Jerez sitting third in the standings after a strong start to his sophomore Moto GP season. He praises Aprilia's and Ducati's consistency across circuits, highlights the importance of Enea Bastianini's progress for KTM, and frames Jerez as the next real test for his team's competitiveness. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Bagnaia's sprint win promise at Kota dissolved as the race progressed. A strong start gave way to a rapid loss of pace in the final laps, costing him the sprint victory and a top 5 finish in the Grand Prix. The pattern, competitive early speed followed by severe rear degradation, has repeated across circuits this season. The last 2 laps I was completely on the limit. I completely finished the rear tire. Bagnaia argues the GP26 handling forces riders to rely on the rear to initiate and sustain cornering because the front is pushing, a condition that increases thermal and mechanical stress on the rear tire. Over a race distance, that strategy burns the rubber down, leaving the rider vulnerable in the closing laps. It's very strange consumption from the rear. Our bike needs to turn with the rear because the front is pushing. Fabio Di Giannantonio echoed the diagnosis, noting Ducati's rear is strong but overused. We use the rear too much for doing everything. He highlighted a comparative weakness in braking and turn-in versus Aprilia and KTM, which allows rivals to outbrake and out-enter, compounding Ducati's rear workload. We need to improve a lot the braking and the entry, Di Giannantonio said. Ducati faces a 2-track response. Short-term setup changes to protect the rear over race distance, and medium-term chassis or aero adjustments to rebalance load between front and rear. Options include altered geometry, revised suspension settings, different aero balance, and tire-specific strategies to reduce rear slip and overheating. Quick fixes can stabilize race performance, but lasting gains usually require coordinated changes across suspension, electronics and aero to shift the bike's fundamental behavior. The rear wear issue affects racercraft and confidence. Riders must manage tire life rather than extract outright pace, which changes overtaking windows and defensive options. For Bagnaia, the immediate priority is finding a setup that preserves rear life without surrendering too much early speed. For Ducati, the priority is a package that lets riders use the front more effectively. A team that can restore front-end authority gains both lap time and strategic flexibility across a race weekend. Bagnaia's assessment frames Ducati's current struggles as a balance problem. Excellent rear grip that becomes a liability over race distance because the front cannot be trusted to do its share. If Ducati can shift load toward the front through geometry, aero and suspension changes, or find tire strategies that reduce rear stress, the GP26 could regain consistent race day performance. If the team fails to rebalance the package, rivals with stronger front-end control will continue to exploit Ducati's late race vulnerability. Marquez stresses that Aprilia's pace was visible before the lights went out this year. Strong late-season form and encouraging preseason tests signaled genuine progress rather than a flash in the pan. The manufacturer's consistency has translated into race wins and regular podiums. For me, it was not any surprise. When testing an end-of-season Formula line, early season results often confirm development trajectories rather than produce shocks. Marco Bezzecchi's string of victories and Jorge Martin's sprint and podium pace have made Aprilia the benchmark. Their performances reflect both rider execution and a package that balances single-lap speed with race distance stability. A manufacturer's momentum is rarely down to one rider. Depth across the lineup amplifies a team's ability to control races and the championship narrative. Other manufacturers have noted Aprilia's gains and are responding with targeted development. Honda, for example, emphasizes a structured plan to introduce updates and assess potential across the season rather than chase immediate fixes. That measured approach aims to build sustainable progress. Rapid update cycles can close gaps quickly, but disciplined, data-driven programs often produce more durable competitiveness. Views vary. Some see Aprilia's rise as the season's defining surprise, while experienced figures like Marquez and Luca Marini read it as the expected outcome of clear preseason indicators. Younger riders and rookies, impressed by the pace, highlight Aprilia's winter gains as a wake-up call. Perception differences reflect vantage points. Veterans weigh testing context, while newcomers react to on-track results and the immediacy of race weekends. Aprilia's early advantage forces rivals to prioritize rapid but reliable upgrades, sharpen race weekend execution, and protect rider confidence. For title contenders, the task is twofold: close the technical gap and maintain consistency across a long season where momentum can swing. Championships are won by teams that combine development speed with operational stability. Early dominance is an advantage only if it's sustained. Marquez's assessment reframes Aprilia's dominance as the predictable outcome of sustained development rather than a sudden upset. The current order rewards teams that converted testing gains into race performance, but the season's length leaves room for counter moves. Expect an intense development race as rivals chase aerodynamic, chassis and tire solutions to blunt Aprilia's edge and reopen the title fight. While Bulega continues to lead the World SBK Championship, Ducati has tapped him for a targeted Moto GP development role. After Michel Pirro's initial Misano shakedown, Bulega is scheduled to ride the GP27 at Mugello in early May, giving him a direct hand in shaping the bike that will race under the new 850cc rules. The Mugello session follows a busy superbike calendar for Bulega and comes at a moment when Ducati is moving from baseline shakedowns to more focused development runs. The May test is intended to be more than a publicity outing. It's a deliberate step to collect usable data under realistic conditions. Scheduling tests around a rider's competitive commitments is delicate but effective when the objective is rapid, transferable insight rather than headline lap times. Bulega's recent superbike work gives him direct experience with Pirelli compounds, a practical advantage as MotoGP switches suppliers in 2027. Ducati can exploit his tire familiarity to understand how the new rubber interacts with the GP27's reduced aero and mechanical setup. Supplier-specific experience shortens the learning curve. Riders who know a tire's behavior can help engineers prioritize compound-sensitive changes early. Beyond tires, Bulega has been involved in early 850cc Desmoceticide development, making him technically current with packaging, cooling and chassis trade-offs. That continuity means his feedback will be immediately actionable for Ducati's engineers as they refine geometry and mechanical grip in the absence of height devices. Test riders who already understand a project's architecture provide higher value input than one-off guests. Continuity matters in rapid regulation transitions. For Bulega, the test role keeps the MotoGP door open while he pursues superbike success. Ducati's use of him as a development asset signals respect for his technical input and preserves a pathway back to the premier class should a seat open. For Ducati, it's a pragmatic choice: harness a rider who combines race-winning form with supplier and prototype familiarity. Development roles can double as audition opportunities. Strong test performances often translate into future MotoGP consideration. Ducati's decision to involve Nicolo Bulega in GP27 testing is a strategic blend of technical pragmatism and talent management. It accelerates 850cc development with a rider who understands Pirelli and is already engaged with the Desma set-aside project, while keeping a high-performing superbike rider close to the MotoGP program. If Bulega's feedback speeds up usable iterations, Ducati gains a development edge. If scheduling or role clarity falters, the potential benefits may be diluted. Either way, the Mugello test will be an early indicator of how effectively Ducati can convert cross-series expertise into a competitive 2027 baseline. Acosta has produced his best opening to a MotoGP campaign, combining a sprint win in Thailand with podium finishes in the season opener and Austin. His ability to stay in the top 5 consistently has kept him firmly in the title conversation, even without a full-length race victory. That steadiness reflects both his growing maturity and KTM's improved baseline package. For now, we're trying to finish in the top 5 in every race. Acosta identifies Aprilia as the current reference point, noting their ability to maintain performance across all types of circuits. He highlights their superior turning ability and stability in direction changes, particularly in Austin's first sector, as decisive advantages. Marco Bezzecchi's trio of victories and Jorge Martin's podiums underline Aprilia's dominance. Despite Aprilia's edge, Acosta acknowledges Ducati's enduring competitiveness. Multiple Ducati riders remain capable of podiums, and their depth across factory and satellite teams ensures they are never far from the front. Acosta stresses the importance of KTM finding a shared baseline setup to keep pace with Ducati's adaptability. Acosta points to Enea Bastianini's step forward at Austin as a key moment for KTM. Strong teammate performances validate development directions and provide more data for engineers to refine the bike. For Acosta, Bastianini's progress is encouraging because it shows KTM's package can deliver results across different riding styles. When multiple riders improve simultaneously, it signals that the team's technical path is correct. It also reduces the burden on a single rider to carry development feedback, creating a healthier environment for collective progress. Acosta frames Jerez as a pivotal test. European circuits often expose different strengths and weaknesses than overseas rounds, and KTM must prove it can adapt. He admits that Aprilia and Ducati still have a step or two in hand, and KTM's immediate goal is pragmatic: secure top 5 finishes while searching for incremental gains. Aprilia and Ducati perform well on all circuits. That's why Jerez will be the next unknown for us. Jerez's blend of heavy braking zones, fast direction changes, and tire management challenges will stress KTM's chassis balance more than some overseas tracks. It is a circuit where weaknesses are magnified, making it a crucial benchmark for the season. Pedro Acosta's campaign so far reflects a rider who has matured beyond chasing glory at every corner. His patience, consistency, and measured approach have kept him in contention, while KTM works to close the gap to Aprilia and Ducati. Jerez will be a litmus test. If KTM can find a reliable baseline and extract small but decisive improvements, Acosta can remain a regular frontrunner. If not, the early championship narrative may continue to be dictated by Aprilia's dominance and Ducati's depth, leaving KTM to play catch-up in the European heart of the season. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!